Hey everybody, today I'm going to review Astro Pneumatic's brand new 3018 digital tire inflator. Now this is an upgrade over the previous design, and what we're going to do in this video is really go over what changed with it, as well as how easy it is to use. Now the good thing about this is the fact that it will inflate as well as deflate tires. It's going to give you a digital readout down to the 10th of the PSI so you can get it exact. And whether it's very low pressure or very high pressure, it's going to work excellent. So what I want to do in this video is really give you some closer-up looks at it, and then we're going to see how it actually performs. When we compare the old version to the new version, functionally they're going to work exactly the same way. The operation's the same, and then the dimensions are going to be the same. However, there's going to be two very distinct design upgrades between the two of these. The old version, of course, having this red hose, which is made of like a PVC rubber material. And then the new version does have an upgraded stainless steel braided hose that's much more flexible, and it's also going to be much more durable. The second major upgrade between the old version and the new version is going to be the batteries. Now the old version uses standard button cell. The new version uses two AAA batteries that are much easier to change. I'll go through the process on both of these now, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. For the old version, you physically have to remove the entire face, take the button cell, slide it into place, and then screw everything back together. The new version is a lot easier. This rubber protective layer on the outside, what you'll do is just go ahead, fold that back, and there's a little protective cover right here. With just a standard flathead screwdriver, they have a little slot, you'll stick that in there, pop the cover free, and then you'll put the two batteries in place. Now they're going to go in opposite directions. The first one's going to go face down, the second one will go face up. You'll take that same little cover, pop it back in place, and then peel the protective layer back around the entire unit. The unit does have a one button design that's going to turn it on, it will turn the light on, as well as change the unit of measure. So what we'll do is go ahead and press in on it until it turns on. You'll see it automatically light up, and it's registering 0 PSI because it's not hooked up to anything. To change the unit of measure, all you'll have to do is hold this button in. It'll go from PSI over to bar. We can press it again, it'll go to KPA, and then the fourth setting is going to be KFG. To go back to PSI, you would press it again, and then it's going to auto default to that after it turns back off. Now it does have a 90-second automatic shutoff. So let's say you set this down and you forget that you left it on. It's not going to continue to drain the battery down, because if you don't use it within 90 seconds, it does shut the power off automatically. At the end of the hose is going to be a brass fitting, and if you notice, it does have a little lever that's spring-loaded. What this is going to do is actually latch onto a valve stem, and it's not going to go anywhere as you inflate or deflate the tire. Once you're done, you'll take that same lever, press in on it, and then it will release without damaging anything. Because the top of the rubber protective layer does have a built-in loop, it means you can easily hang it from a nail or even a hook like this one when it's not in use. So in this case, I can hang it directly behind the air compressor, and when I need to use it, it's always going to be there. Using the inflator is extremely easy to do. The first step is going to be to turn it on. So the button right here will press it. You'll see the backlit screen light up. And then you'll just take your air supply line and connect it to the bottom. At this point, we'll go ahead and connect the other end of the hose, which does have the locking mechanism, onto the valve stem. And because it's going to lock itself in place, we don't have to hold it on as we're inflating the tire. So currently the tire has 30.8 pounds of pressure in it, but let's say we want to bump that up to 34 PSI. Just by holding it on the trigger, it's going to allow the air to flow through, and then when we release it, it's going to give us an updated reading. Now right now it says 35.6. To go ahead and remove some of that air, we'll just have to barely press it on the trigger, and now it will deflate it. We can let off on it and really fine tune it to get an exact reading. And then in just a matter of a second or two, we can get exactly to 34 PSI. Now, one other thing to keep in mind, let's say you do a lot of off-roading or maybe you want to drive on the beach. You can use this to deflate your tires without hooking up any air pressure to it. So we can remove our air line, and let's say you're out in the middle of the woods. As long as you have this, it is going to still give you an accurate reading as far as your air pressure goes. Now, of course, you can't put air back in with this if you don't have a compressor hooked up to it, but you can remove the air and get that accurate reading the entire time simply by pressing it on the handle. This is going to allow the air to get out of your tire, and as soon as you release it, it's going to give you an exact amount of air pressure that's still inside. Now, one of the big advantages is going to be the range. It goes anywhere from 3 psi all the way up to 175 psi. And for things like this four-wheeler, they require very low pressures. Typically, you just have to guess because normal gauges can't measure that low. And this tire, for example, would need roughly 4 psi. So that's still above the bottom end. And if you just watch it right now, it's below the range. So it's not even really showing what the psi is, but it's below 3. As I press in on this, go ahead and watch the tire increase in pressure. And you can see that it's going to lift up extremely fast. Right now we're at 2.9, now we're at 3.3, and just in a matter of time, we're at 4.7. That's a little bit too much pressure. But what we'll do is go ahead and let some air out of it. We'll get it down to 4 psi. And now that we're all the way down to where it should be, I can go ahead and pop this off of here, put the cap back on. And our air pressure is exactly right. So now you've seen the newly redesigned Astro Pneumatic 3018 digital tire inflator for yourself. Now the couple design upgrades that they put into this model is really going to make it last a lot longer as well as make it much easier to service in the future. Specifically because the rubber hose now has this protective stainless steel mesh over it, you don't really run the risk of accidentally nicking that, making it unsafe to use. But more importantly is going to be the battery design upgrade. Previously, you'd have to remove the entire face to change out the button cell, and now because it's using standard AAA batteries, to change those, you just pull the protective layer back, pop the battery compartment open, and you can change them out in less than a minute. Now, the other good thing about that battery design upgrade, with the button cell, you were having to expose all the electronics underneath the face, and you could very easily damage those. And now, because it has its own little battery compartment, you're not going to run into that issue. Finally, the runtime is going to be tremendously increased, with the button cell having an average of 140 hours before you need to change it, with the AAA batteries that quadrupled to 560 hours. Now, because this is an inflator slash deflator, and it does have the digital readout that's going to show you exactly to the 10th of the PSI what the pressure in your tires are, you can very easily make sure that all 4 tires are exactly the same. Now, lastly, I do want to point out the warranty. Astro Pneumatic does cover this with a 1-year warranty, so if you ever do have a problem with it during that time frame and it's not an abuse situation, they will fix this for you free of charge. If you like this video, please click like. If you like my channel, please click subscribe. And thanks for watching.